Mill invites Hubby's ex to every family event to prove he chose wrong. It blows up when Hubby had enough at Mill's b-day and bans her from our lives. So, for context, I, 28F, have been married to my husband Sean, 28M, for 2 years. Sean and I dated for 2 years before that, but we've known each other for several years, since high school. We didn't start dating until a couple of years after college ended. I met him at a restaurant out of the blue, we exchanged numbers, went out on a few dates, and that's how we got here, almost 4 years later. Before me, Sean was dating another girl from high school, Diane. She was a grade below us and had been with Sean since middle school. He and I weren't exactly close, but we had a lot of common friends back in school, so I saw a lot of him and Diane together. After we graduated high school, I lost touch with him because he went to college in a different state and we didn't see much of each other during that time. When we finally did meet at that restaurant several years later, I ended up asking him about Diane and he told me that they'd broken up a year and a half ago. She'd been the one to dump him because she wanted different things from life and wanted a break to explore the world, but she'd come back to him someday, which just meant that she wanted to be single for a while and see other men without guilt, but wanted to keep Sean around as well as a backup option. So he stayed friends with her after the breakup but minimized contact with her. By the time he met me, he'd moved on almost entirely from Diane, and I had also started seeing him in a new light because he'd grown a lot since I last met him in high school. Sean and I became friends very quickly and easily when we met 4 years ago, and we still share the same easy and laid-back relationship even now. He says that that's something he never had with Diane, and she'd always try to make him chase after her because she believed it made her more attractive. She'd flirt with other guys sometimes, go out with her friends all the time without bothering to speak to him for days, and would never bother to check up on how Sean felt about her behavior. He stayed with her because he was young and stupid, and also because he thought that he needed to make that relationship work only because they had been together for so long. Another reason was his mother, who was a huge fan of Diane. Diane had met my mother-in-law Sharon, 49F, many times while they'd been together, and whenever Diane would visit, Sharon would praise her and act like a totally different person. And if I go by what Sean tells me, Diane used to do the same for Sharon as well, praising her incessantly and acting like a whole other person to impress her. They'd gossip and talk about other people, mostly Sean's other female friends, which he didn't like, and sometimes even Sean's aunts and cousins. Diane is also kind of conventionally beautiful, which meant that Sharon liked her even more. I don't understand why that's a thing, but it is what it is. Sean had told me that even after their breakup, Sharon had continued to invite Diane to family events and holiday dinners. He'd tried to talk to his mother and get her to stop inviting her, but she claimed that she really liked her, and even though they'd broken up, she and Diane were still friends, so she saw nothing wrong with having her over. They talked almost every other week and were actually good friends, so that continued even after I started dating Sean and he introduced me to his family. I'd felt very weird about it in the beginning, and I still do, but there's a reason I'd been putting up with it for so long. The first time Sean brought me home to meet his family was for Christmas, 4 years ago. We'd been dating for quite some time then, almost 8 months. Diane was also present there, and she was downright horrible to me the entire time. She was picking on my looks, my height, my outfit, my makeup, and whatnot. She was clever enough to make it all sound very humorous, like she was just joking, but Sean knew what she was trying to do and tried to stand up for me, but Sharon shut it down and directly asked me if I had a problem with Diane's jokes, putting me on the spot. I knew that if I said that I wasn't okay with it, they'd make it seem like I was insecure or something and put me down even more, so I decided to put on a strong front and said I don't care instead. It was petty of me, but as soon as I said it, I saw them look surprised and irritated, so I knew that I'd done the right thing. Once Sean and I came back home, he apologized to me for the way Sharon and Diane had behaved and told me that he'd make sure his mom didn't invite Diane anymore, but I'm the one who told him not to do that. I knew the kind of women they were, and I didn't want to lose to them, if you know what I mean. I didn't want them to believe that they'd intimidated me or made me feel insecure, because they hadn't, and I felt like I had to prove it, so I explained it to Sean as well. He was surprised by my opinion on this, but he didn't interfere anymore after that day, and so far, every single family gathering that Sharon has hosted, Diane has been there, and every time they behave the same way with me. Snide remarks, backhanded compliments, or constant tries to bring up Diane's past with Sean even when there's no need to, just to make it awkward for me. I've faced it all with a brave face and have tried to remain as unfazed as I can. Sharon has even mentioned several times that Diane was the daughter-in-law she would have preferred and would have been the better fit for Sean as a wife indirectly. It was annoying, but I tried to remain unfazed because as long as Sean was by my side, I didn't really care what they said. So Sharon and Diane could yap on forever and it wouldn't make a difference to me. That's how I've been dealing with this for the last 4 years, and I plan on having the same attitude for the next 4 years, too. I wasn't going to be the first one to snap, and that was for sure. Now coming to what actually happened and the incident that brought me here. So 3 days back, Sharon celebrated her 49th birthday, and every year, she celebrates it with all her family and friends. This year, Sean didn't want to go and instead wanted to go to his co-worker's engagement party instead, which happened to be on the same day. He had valid reasons because his co-worker would only get engaged once and he was really close with him, too. But Sharon forced him to promise that he'd attend her birthday party instead and wore him down after some days, so we decided to go to that party instead. Like every other event, Diane was invited too, and she dressed up to the nines for some reason. Even Sharon was overdressed, but at least it was her birthday that we were there to celebrate. Sean and I had decided that we were going to leave after Sharon cut the cake and then go to the engagement party. So at around 5:30 in the evening, my father-in-law brought out the cakes, and we were surprised to see 2 cakes because one of them said happy almost anniversary.